What's up everybody, Achilles here, back with the long-awaited second episode of the Mario Kart 9 Nitro Track Ideas series. First things first, if you haven't watched the first episode, do so now. I'll have a link on screen and in the description. Also, before we jump right into things, let me quickly mention an idea that's been brewing in my mind for quite some time. So, you know how the Animal Crossing course in the upcoming DLC pack has multiple different versions of itself that are selected randomly each time you play it? Wouldn't it be cool if in Mario Kart 9, each and every track had different versions of itself, varying per course? They could be different times of the day, different times of the year, a slight change in the decorative theme, or even combinations of multiple things. This would be a cool way to add a little bit more variety to things. Now that I put that out there, let's move on to what you all really came here for, the actual courses. As is tradition in the vast majority of Mario Kart games, the Flower Cup starts out with the obligatory Mario Circuit. Now, with this course, I tried to stay away from the Peach's Castle outskirts theme, as it's been used to death, and I thought it would be better to instead focus on a different theme for the course. That's right, the theme for this course's design is Super Mario 3D World. Everything, from the giant blocks found in the first section of the course, to the smallest details like the jazzy marching band of Toads and Goombas, is inspired by the game, and its cousin, 3D Land. Even the overly saturated color of the grass stays the same. From the starting line, you first pass through a small section bordered by spectator stands and kart maintenance buildings before entering the main, and most gimmicky, section of the course, a stretch of the road completely dominated by the huge multicolored block things that I mentioned before. My depictions of them on the map are not completely accurate, because there would be more of them and you'd be forced to traverse them to continue. But wait, how would you climb them? Well, my friend, you'd use anti-gravity to scale their sides completely vertically, paralleling the fact that you can climb them in 3D World using a catsuit. After you finish that part, you'd then go down a little slide, like the one from Super Mario 3D World's Mario Kart level, and enter a small underground segment. Plenty of little rolling hills could be found in this section, some of which you can ride to speed yourself up, some of which would hinder you because they roll in the opposite direction, and some of which even have those gerbil mice thingies running on them as obstacles. You'd exit this section by driving through one of the 3 enlarged, see-through pipes, which lead you back to the outside. As you continue driving, you'll notice that the course takes place on a huge hill, overlooking Peach's Castle. A fence blocks you from falling off the adjacent cliff face, and it also makes the view of the fireworks that are there when you're at night a little bit safer. This area is also very grassy, and also has a few of those rolling hills of its own. Alright, next track. The next course is called Skate City, and as its name suggests, it takes place in an urban skate park. The name Skate City is actually the name of the skate park, not the city, though there is a large Los Angeles-like skyline in the background. Right from the get-go, you'll notice that many of the park's smooth wooden walls have lots of colorful graffiti and urban art on them, with a palette reminiscent of Splatoon and Mario Sunshine. Some of them even advertise Junior Joyrides, a skateboard company owned by Bowser Jr., to whom this course serves as somewhat of a home course. After the main straightaway, you'll go down into a little gully that serves as a half-pipe zone. There are multiple Shy Guy skateboards doing tricks off the half-pipe like in DK's Snowboard Cross. You'll then enter a snaking section that is very similar to the half-pipe, except with steeper walls that are a little more narrow as well. Then you'll go through a section that has lots of jumps as you gradually ascend and curve up as the course enters a sleek wooden structure that's actually around 2 floors tall. You then exit the structure in a steep downhill, gaining speed and momentum to do a full-blown loop-de-loop in the large anti-gravity section. It was hard to represent the loop on the map, so here's a picture instead. After this, you hit a large jump and enter a gliding section, only to land on a path facing the wrong direction. But no worries, because if you do a trick off the end of this path, you'll be turned around and can finally continue towards the finish line. In the last few seconds before the line, there are some small bumps to do tricks off of, as well as some rails to do some rad grinding. I overall just really like the concept for this course, and I hope you do too. The third course of the Flower Cup is the Crimson Palace, a large Japanese-inspired fortress covered in the color crimson. As you can probably tell, it takes a lot of inspiration from the level Hands-on Hall in Super Mario 3D World. The starting line actually takes the form of a large Shinto archway, and from it, you begin to race towards the main entrance of the palace, a large stairway resembling that of the Forbidden Palace in Beijing. After you enter, you'll immediately enter a few Japanese courtyards, complete with some sharp turns and a decent incline. You then enter a large dojo-like hallway with traditional Japanese decor. You can go behind screens like in 3D World to enter rooms not visible on the map. Some contain rare item boxes, while others contain multiple Goombas that will proceed to attack you. All the while, the gradual incline continues, and by the time you reach the final courtyard, which is the one with the pond, you'll have ascended 4 floors in total. This courtyard has a few Japanese plants, and you can drive through a pool shortly for a tiny underwater section. As you exit the courtyard, you'll come out in the exterior of the building, on a lower part of the roof, and the road you take brings you up to the final story, before the real fun begins. As you can see, this part of the race has you jumping from rooftop to rooftop, drifting and jumping, and all that good stuff. This is made even more chaotic by the fact that because the rooftops are so inclined, almost all the different sections are anti-gravity sections, and all at different angles and slopes. The final segment will see you using your glider to descend down into a quaint Japanese garden, complete with a koi pond, a bridge, and lily pads. This area is even more beautiful at night, due to it being ambiently lit by traditional Japanese lamps. Finally, you'll return back to the cobblestone road and the starting line from which you begun. Capping off the Flower Cup in style is Mount Sawmill, which is, you guessed it, a giant lumber mill on an Alp-like mountain. Thematically, it takes a ton of inspiration from a level from Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze called Sawmill Thrill, and you'll see why in a bit. The facility is stylized as Old Western, but the exterior has mainly Swiss and European Alpine influences. While the mountain is home to multiple Shy Guys, it's the overwhelming amount of Yoshis here that truly makes it a Yoshi course in everything but name. The mill is full of giant saws, bundles of logs, and anything else you'd expect from it. It would even have a bunch of wooden Yoshi statues, further expanding on the fact that this course is pretty much Yoshi's home course. The race starts in a long, rectangular log storage room and promptly exits to the right, entering the outdoors. Here, you drive on a wooden track reminiscent of Wario's gold mine that dips down, turns, and begins to go upwards, leading you into a steep mine shaft that cuts through the mountainside. At the beginning of this mine shaft is a glider ramp, which, if you manage to avoid the swooping bats, can let you fly all the way through the shaft, back outdoors, and past a few turning windmills. Soon after, you'll enter a small wooden building that leads to the funnest part of the race, the water shaft. Here, you go down a steep downhill anti-gravity underwater slide, full of turbulent water and logs that act as obstacles. You then proceed to drive through the remaining bits of the mill's river, which, while less steep, still possess an element of challenge due to the raging torrent pushing you along faster than you normally go. After passing by a water wheel, the river enters the sawmill, where a row of giant spinning saw blades slices through the logs you saw before. You have to emerge from the water to the side to avoid meeting the same fate. After driving through another room in the mill, you face your next major obstacle, and another cool part of the course. Hanging from chains attached to the roof is an absolutely massive log that spans the length of 3 or so rooms in the mill, being sliced, cut, and carved at by multiple giant saws. This course actually takes you onto the side of the log in an anti-gravity section, and you have to follow a path that's been carved onto it by some of the saw blades I mentioned before. Speaking of those saw blades, if I were you, I'd be careful around them, because if you're hit by any of them, you spin out, get hurt, and potentially even fall off the side of the log. Once that perilous section is done, you pass by a room full of carpenter Shy Guys before entering another outdoor roller coaster-like section, like the one near the start of the race. You then pass above the room with the giant logs, and do some jumps from platform to platform, doing your best to avoid the saw blades swinging from the ceiling like the pendulums of tick-tock clock. After passing overhead of the log storage room where the starting line is located, you do a quick downward turn and finish off your lap. Well, that's all for today, folks. If you thought my ideas were cool or creative, leave a like to show your support. While you're at it, leave your own ideas in the comment section, and I may feature them in a future episode. And if you want to stay updated on my future videos, subscribe. I truly appreciate all the support I can get. Peace out.